Great. Well, I think it's a little after 11, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. You are absolutely welcome to submit questions throughout the duration of the webinar. We'll be taking a look at any questions that are submitted, and we'll try and answer them on the webinar. But I wanted to sort of initially just give you a little bit of an overview of this new pilot program, the Massachusetts Solar Connect program that we are looking to do here at MassCEC. Hopefully answer some of your questions, and then we'll take it from there. So very quickly, just an outline of the webinar today. We will definitely try and keep it brief. We want to be considerate of your time. But we'll just do a quick introduction, talk about what the program is, try and further define who the participants are and what the requirements are for them to be a part of the program, define the partner roles, discuss sort of what the goals of the program are and the associated benefits. Whoops, sorry about that. Go over the timeline and next steps, and then again just answer any questions you may have. I'm assuming most of you on the call probably know who we are here at the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, considering you heard about our webinar to begin with. But just very quickly, MassCEC is a quasi-public state agency, and we are focused on accelerating the clean energy industry here in Massachusetts. And so we tackle that in a variety of ways, whether it's investments in clean tech startups or helping to do pilot and demonstration projects, to sort of the work that Elizabeth and I do, which is really designing programs to increase deployment of solar PV specifically. That's the technology that we are focused on. So the Mass Solar Connect program is a new program that we're looking to pilot to get at just that, looking to increase the adoption of solar in Massachusetts. So a quick overview of the program. On a very high level, it's a partnership similar to Solarize Mass, which some of you may have heard of before, and it's a partnership between those of us here at the Mass Clean Energy Center with an affinity group, which we're defining as a Massachusetts nonprofit that's headquartered here in the state, and a solar installation company or a partnership of companies, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. And it's really focused on an education and outreach campaign around solar PV. And I should take a step back. When we talk about solar PV or solar photovoltaic, we're talking about electricity generating solar projects. So that's what this program is focused on. And it's really, while we're looking to partner with the affinity group, the program is actually targeted at the members of the affinity group. So I'll define that a little bit more in the next slide, but it's really a program that the affinity group will be offering to its members. And the goal is to reduce the cost of solar for its members, and obviously, if we're successful, increase the adoption of the technology as well. And it's very much based on the success that we have had with the Solarize Mass program, which we have done 4 rounds of that program, working with 46 communities or municipalities across the state. It's been a tremendously successful program with over 2,400 contracts for small-scale solar systems being signed for over 16 megawatts of solar. So extremely successful. We found that more than half, well over more than half, 39 of the 46 communities have more than doubled the amount of small-scale solar in their community just by participating in Solarize Mass. So we're hoping to see equally as successful results under this program. So the program goals, if any of you are familiar with Solarize, you'll recognize the top 5 of them. It's, increase education and outreach around solar, really just helping to inform people about how the technology works, what incentives are available, and helping to give them the tools to consider whether or not they want to move forward with a solar project. Trying to simplify the process for members to go solar, and that's done by competitively selecting a solar installer. With the help of a technical consultant, it's vetting their equipment and reviewing their standard agreements that they sign with customers to make sure that they have good business terms. So really helping to simplify the decision-making process for the members. Reduce the cost for solar projects and reduce the time to contract. We hear from the market that sometimes it could take upwards of 2 years for a homeowner to decide whether or not they actually want to move forward with solar. And we're really trying to enable residents and business owners in Massachusetts to be able to make that decision on a faster timeline. Obviously, we want to increase adoption. And then what this program really focuses on is reaching interesting property owners across the state of Massachusetts. And this is sort of the key difference between the Solar Connect program and Solarize Mass. Solarize Mass was focused on a defined geographic area because it was focused on working with communities. The Solar Connect program is working with a different type of affinity group. We're working with an organization that will have members spread across the state of Massachusetts, and so we'll be reaching more broadly in this program. So thinking about sort of defining the program participants a little bit more, as I mentioned, the affinity group we're looking for nonprofit entities that are headquartered in Massachusetts. And we want them to connect individuals through some sort of shared initiative or a common goal. It could be a formal organization, and it could also be an academic institution. And we are very much open to a variety of different, working with different affinity groups. So, it could be a hospital or an environmental organization or, obviously an academic institution or a credit union. There are a number of different nonprofits out there. So we're open if an organization is interested in participating. And we want the affinity group, when they apply or respond to this request for proposals, to really help us define the scope of who they determine their members to be. So we have put out some ideas. So for a nonprofit organization, for example, the members could include staff or supporters or generally just other active stakeholders. For an academic institution, you might define your members as faculty, students, maybe family of students, and reaching out to, even broader, to alumni. But I do want to make clear that particularly for the large nonprofit organizations out there, that this is targeted at Massachusetts property owners specifically. So you may have members that are outside of the state of Massachusetts, own property outside of the state, but this program is very much focused on those members that own property in Massachusetts. And for the installer or group of installers that are participating, they need to be experienced companies in Massachusetts licensed to do business here. They'll need to meet the same parameters as what we have under the Solarize Mass program, and that they would need to be considered expedited under our Commonwealth Solar T rebate program and have to have installed at least 10 projects in Massachusetts. We are also encouraging solar installers to partner together and submit a combined proposal. The reason being is that, our expectation is that an affinity group will have members located all across the state of Massachusetts, potentially. You don't have to, but that's a potential. And so we want to ensure that solar installers will be able to, provide good customer service and work with those members regardless of where they're located in the state. So we've defined an affinity group as being a nonprofit entity headquartered in Massachusetts. Digging a little bit deeper, though, we want the organization to have at least 5,000 members residing or having property in the state. The reason for this is that you need to have sort of a critical mass of members that might be interested, because what we'll find is that even though some members might be interested, they may not actually have feasible sites for solar. So in order to really have significant success, you do need to have at least a certain number of members located in the state. The physical location of the nonprofit's headquarters must be serviced by either an investor-owned utility, which could be NSTAR, National Grid, Western Mass Electric, or Unitil, or a municipal utility that pays into our Renewable Energy Trust. So the affinity group could have other properties located in different territories, but we do want the headquarters to be located in an investor-owned utility or a municipal utility that pays into the Renewable Energy Trust. We would like you to have interest by the organization or members to participate in a program like this, and it might fit well into your mission or in efforts that you're looking to do in the future, some strategic plan. Obviously, we would want you to be willing to partner with MassDEC and the selected installer or partnership of installers. And then, in addition to that, we do, as part of the response to the request for proposals, want the affinity group to nominate 2 individuals. One is the primary representative, and they're defined as the formal member of the organization that's focused on aligning internal efforts and representing the organization. And so to take that a bit further, what we're really trying to say is that we want a member of the affinity group to really ensure that we have the support of the organization and can help us sort of navigate and know who's the right person to talk to about a specific issue. It's our point of contact to ensure that we have the best communication possible with the affinity group. And in addition to the primary representative, we're looking for the nomination of someone to be the program's solar coach, and they're responsible for coordinating outreach efforts, answering questions that any of the members might have, and ultimately being the main point of contact between the affinity group, the installer, and us here at MassDEC. So they're really handling a lot of the logistics in terms of if people want to work on the outreach campaign, figuring out what their roles might be, and helping with some of the sort of strategic planning around the campaign. So thinking about this sort of web of a partnership here under the Mass Solar Connect program, we at MassDEC are going to provide a number of support, methods of support under the program. So we are going to competitively select up to 2 affinity groups through the RFP. We are also going to release a request for proposals for installers to participate in this program. So we will collect those bids. We are going to engage a solar technical consultant who will help the affinity group in selecting their installer. And we are also going to provide assistance by outreach consultants to help with the sort of the outreach and education campaign, understanding that your members may be located all across the state. Our hope is that the affinity group will really be sort of the ultimate decision maker in the installer selection. We want them to provide the primary representative and the solar coach, and then really help to drive the outreach around the program. The installer is sort of the technical expert in the program, and so when a member says, hey, I'm really interested in solar, the installer will provide a free site assessment for them to help them determine if they have a feasible site or not. And if they do, they'll design the system, and if the customer wants to move forward, they would contract and do the installation. On top of that, the installer will be offering competitive pricing, which will be a discount to what the average market price is in the state of Massachusetts. So the idea is, they're providing a turnkey service on the technical side as well as the competitive pricing. And so for members, it's really figuring out a way to engage those members, get them interested in the program, and hope that they sign up for a site assessment with the installer. And ideally, they will talk to others and sort of spread the word about the program so that we can get more people interested in the program. Thinking about the benefits, so we've talked about the goals and who can qualify. So what are the benefits to participating in this program? For the members, it's really getting a better understanding of what solar is and what it might look like for them here in Massachusetts. They'll receive reduced pricing on the system relative to the market price. And then, as I mentioned earlier, really a simplified process to go solar. We're trying to make it easy for people that might be interested in pursuing the technology. For the affinity group, it's receiving up to a $10,000 marketing grant from MassDEC for the outreach efforts, as well as assistance from an outreach consultant on those efforts. Demonstrating that you as an organization are an innovative thought leader and providing a benefit to your members, an offering that they can participate in. In addition to that, the affinity group will receive some sort of small incentive for each contract that is signed under the program. So there is a direct benefit to the affinity group if more and more of its members decide to participate in this program. And for the installer, it's reduced marketing and outreach costs and significant lead generation and increased sales. So it's sort of a win-win for all of the participants involved in the program. The timeline was posted in the RFP, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but very quickly, the affinity group RFP was released on September 16th. Our goal, we would like to receive any formal questions on the RFP by October 3rd, and our goal is to post responses to those questions by the 9th. And the proposals will be due on October 28th. And our hope is to announce the affinity groups that have been selected around mid-November. We're still trying to nail down the exact date, but that's what we anticipate doing. And it will take a little while once we get the installer proposals in, to review those proposals, and we'll be working with a technical consultant and the affinity groups to review those proposals. But it's likely that we will announce the selected installers by late February or early March of next year, which will mean that the customer sign-up period would begin in March and then run through August of 2015. Great. So next steps, just to reiterate, the RFP deadline to submit a proposal is October 28th at 4 p.m. If you are interested in reviewing the RFP documents again, the link is provided here. And just to reiterate, we are going to answer as many questions as we can on this webinar, which we will post. We're recording and we'll post on the website, but if you have any additional questions or want sort of a formal answer, please feel free to email us, and we'll be posting that document on the 9th at the same website that's linked above. And our anticipation is that the installer RFP will be released in the next 2 weeks. So with that, I want to thank you very much for listening to our webinar. As I mentioned, we are recording it and it will be posted. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at the email address above, solarconnect@masscec.com. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth to see if we've gotten any questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. We have definitely gotten some questions here. So I'll start off with the first one. What does it mean for installers to submit a joint proposal?
That's a great question. So for installers that are interested in submitting a joint proposal, the expectation, which is similar to what we do under Solarize Mass, is that the installers will know which affinity groups have been selected before their proposals are due. So you'll have a period of time to sort of tailor your proposal to the affinity groups that have been selected. But our expectation is that installers would partner in advance of submitting a proposal and submit that proposal as a team. So submit sort of jointly, so we would get one proposal for, you know, maybe more than one installation company.
Great. All right, here's another one. Will there be rebates available for this program?
It's another good question. So as some of you may be aware, the Commonwealth Solar 2 rebate program, which is available for residential and small commercial small commercial projects, is actually sunsetting at the end of 2014. So as a result of that, there will be no rebates available. For projects under the Mass Solar Connect program. With that being said, there are still a number of other incentives available in the state of Massachusetts. So, you know, for eligible customers, there are still state and federal tax incentives. There's still the ability to net meter, assuming you're in an investor-owned utility territory. Municipal utility territories sometimes have their own incentives. And then there's also the SREC program, or the Solar Renewable Energy Certificates, which are available for solar projects that get installed in Massachusetts. So the more solar power that your system generates, your system will start generating SRECs, which you can then sell on the market and receive revenue from that.
Great. Does MassCEC have parameters around what an affinity group can define as its members?
Sure. So in terms of an affinity group's members, we are very open to how that is defined. And we would encourage affinity groups, when they're submitting proposals, to think about what is interesting for your organization, but also think broadly. I'm not sure that there is, just sort of personally, I think that there's not necessarily any benefit in keeping the definition overly narrow. I think that, there's no harm in casting a wide net. So sort of think creatively about what you would like your members to be and how you would be able to reach those members to engage them in a program like this.
There's another question. What can the donation from the installer be used for?
Sure. So solar installers, when they bid to participate in this program, will be required to define what their incentive will be that they will offer the affinity group when a contract is signed. So we're intentionally not being too prescriptive. With that being said, our expectation is that the incentive that's provided on a per contract basis to the affinity group would be used toward other solar-related work or other renewable energy-related work, or if the affinity group was interested in working on another somewhat related campaign, we are open to that. It could be used towards an installation itself, or it could be a donated system. So we are open to it, but it would still need to be renewable energy or energy efficiency related.
Great. We've got a couple more questions here. We have, if anyone else has additional questions, they can log them in the bottom right. You should be able to type in additional questions. There are a couple here that are specific to the installer RFP, so I'm actually we're not going to respond to that right now because the installer RFP is not yet posted. But here's another question. I noticed you stressed that you encourage installers to partner and submit a combined proposal. Why is this important to the MassDEC?
So we are stressing that, or I don't want to say stressing, we are encouraging installers to partner together in order to meet the large geographic dispersion of members that could exist by an affinity group. That's not to say that a solar installation company could not handle that on their own. So it's not a requirement that installers partner by any means, but particularly for solar companies that maybe work more in certain parts of the state, and you recognize that you wouldn't be able to handle leads that were coming in a completely different part of the state, for those companies in particular, we would encourage you to consider partnering with another installer in order to sort of deal with the, potentially the number of leads coming in as well as where those leads were actually located.
Great. Do we have any other questions? I think we might have answered all of them. Well, as Elizabeth Kennedy said earlier, we will be posting this webinar, and if you have additional questions, please email us at solarconnect@massdec.com. We will look at the questions asked and respond to them as part of an RFP that we'll post to the website listed below. So without further ado, I guess we think that's about it. So
yeah,
thanks everybody for participating, and we look forward to any further questions and look forward to running this program.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.